Hi guys, in today's video I want to talk about what is probably the best PC monitor on the market today, and that is the Sony BVM-HX3110 30.5 inch 4K professional mastering monitor. And if you remember my video from a few days ago about why OLED TVs are not good enough and that the MacBook screen is better, this screen is actually better than the MacBook screen even. And let's get into why that is. So I was watching this movie, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, on my MacBook, and this screen recording is not going to be in HDR, but the average picture level was simply too high in any of these scenes, or all of these scenes, for an OLED TV to display properly, but it displayed perfectly well on the MacBook screen and looked amazing. And that's why OLED TVs are not good enough. But if you go to like the end credits, for example, you can see some blooming around the text. And granted, the MacBook has 2500 dimming zone, so there's not really that much blooming that's actually visible, even though this is a mini LED display. Nevertheless, there is still some that you can see, and really the only time you'll see blooming is with text or something against a fully black background, which doesn't really occur in film. But the average picture level advantage of the MacBook over OLED TVs far outweighs that blooming cost. Regardless, if we go to the Sony BVM-HX3110, it doesn't even have the blooming issue because it is a dual layer LCD display. The native contrast of the HX3110 is 1,000,000 to 1, which is as good as black, really, but they're increasing the contrast ratio by having local dimming as well as a dual layer LCD design, but also a peak luminance of 4,000 nits. And the thing is, it doesn't do 4,000 nits full screen, but it can do 1000 nits full screen. And I think this will cover pretty much any content you throw at it and display it perfectly, because oftentimes these Dolby Vision films are mastered on Sony HX310s with peak brightness of 1000 nits, but other ones can be mastered on the Dolby Pulsar for HDR scenes, which has a peak brightness of 4000 nits. And this, I think, will really take everything to the next level with what it has to offer: faster pixel response time. It's not really clear what general HDR monitor is, but HDTV tests did show that the HX3110 did have a better viewing angles than the HX310. These things don't really matter. But one thing that was interesting to me is that the refresh rate is, okay, where does it say here? 120 hertz versus the HX310 only had a 60 hertz refresh rate, and I think this alone makes it very viable as a PC monitor. 120 hertz is really good enough. That's what I'm using, MacBook screen. And yeah, so this is the only issue I'd say this monitor probably has, is that considering that the HX310 had significant fan noise when in HDR mode, and this has local dimming as well, and even higher brightness, I'm assuming that the fans are going to be quite loud. You can even see, like, based on this design or whatever, that the fans are going to be quite large. So it's really weird. I don't know. The people who grade movies, they do it separately than from the audio side, so it's a little bit confusing if this can be really used as an AV display. But you can do some things to mitigate the sound, and that's why this has a question mark in the title, because this is really the only potential deal breaker. Because if the noise floor of the display is so high in HDR mode that it's distracting from the experience, then this is not really gonna cut it, and at that point you might as well just stick with the MacBook display. But I think potentially this is probably the best PC monitor on the market. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below.